so everybody go to Canvas. This is what our calendar looks like for this unit. Yesterday we finished up the mastery path, which talked about the 6 principles of the perfect government that Americans wanted to establish after the Revolutionary War. So we're going to take those ideas today and talk about some of the first governments, the Articles of Confederation today, and then later the Constitution that was drafted, to see how well of a job we did taking those 6 principles and creating the current governments that we have. So today we're going to talk about the Articles. All right. So you're going to click on that link, the Articles of Confederation simulation, and you're going to send that document to Notability. And that's what we're going to be working on today. Now, here's the good news. If you follow along with me in class, I'm going to tell you exactly what to write, and you'll be able to finish it together and submit it back to us. Just have to pay attention and stay with me here in class. All right, you guys, listen up. Take a look up here. So today I'm going to talk to you about the Articles of Confederation, which was the first government that was established after the Revolutionary War. Now, obviously, we still do not have the Articles of Confederation, so it definitely had its flaws, many flaws that we're going to talk about today, and how that led to the creation of the Constitution, which is what we'll be discussing over the next couple of weeks. All right, so in your handout, actually, there's a video I want you to watch. There's nothing to write in the handout. Just want you to watch this 2-minute video about what the articles were, and then we'll move on.
In the U.S., we love our Constitution. But it wasn't always this way. Before the Constitution and government we have today, we had a sort of prototype constitution called the Articles of Confederation, which created a nation of independent states only loosely linked together by a single Congress. The Founding Fathers intentionally designed a nation with a very weak central government. There was no judicial branch, no executive branch, so there was no president, which when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. You know, the colonists had just been through a really bad breakup with the British king, and they're not about to get back together with a government who looked just like their ex, okay? We've all made that mistake before, okay? You go and date a girl like the last girl you dated, you're gonna get hurt, okay? Don't do this to yourself. The Congress, which was just a single chamber with a delegate from every state, did have some power, like the authority to make treaties and alliances, maintain an army, and coin money. But they couldn't levy the taxes to pay for those things. In fact, under the Articles of Confederation, paying federal taxes was voluntary for the states, who of course were like, no thanks, we're good. The US had borrowed money from European investors and nations to pay for the Revolutionary War, but with no power to tax, the United States couldn't pay back any of those debts, creating a huge economic disaster by 1787. With no funds and limited power, the central government couldn't do much to protect peace at home. This became abundantly clear during Shays' Rebellion in 1786, when farmers in Massachusetts violently protested against the state's high taxes. So if the Articles of Confederation weren't working, why didn't they just make changes to it? Well, it was practically impossible. Amendments to the Articles needed unanimous consent, and the delegates from the 13 states had more opinions than a YouTube comment section. By the way, you should comment on this video right now. Say something nice about it. This weak Congress and a broke, ineffective federal government eventually proved to be too much of a burden on the United States. Because when 13 different state governments held all the power, nothing was getting accomplished. The Founding Fathers found this out the hard way. So they went back to the drawing board, drafting a new and improved Constitution, which is still the law of our land today.
Okay, so before we talk about the Constitution, we're going to talk about why the Articles didn't work. That's our topic today. So I put this visual in here for you guys to get an understanding of what the Articles did. So even though there's 4 states up here, there were actually 13, all right? And all of the states considered themselves as independent countries that came together for a common good by creating a government that was weak, but had some power that was very limited. So think about the United States today. We think of ourselves as America, the United States, all 50 states. We're all like in it together. But back then, that was not the case. Remember, they had just come from the Revolutionary War, a really oppressive king, and they did not want a government that was very powerful to rule over them once again. So the Articles were established in response to that fear that an oppressive leader, if a central government was created, would take over again. All right. So I'm going to talk to you for about 6 minutes about what the Articles were like and some of the powers that it gave the government. And then we're going to do a simulation. All right. So just stick with me. You should see on your handout a map that looks like this, and there are 3 things that you need to write in, all right? So we're going to talk about the 3 main things about the Articles of Confederation. First, the Articles, it was the first government. All right, so the first government after the Revolution is known as the Articles of Confederation. The 13 states created it in response to the oppressive king that they had just left, giving it very little power. So this is already written in for you, the yellow part. So the Articles did establish a very weak national government. And that was done so that states maintained their power. All right. The best part about the Articles of Confederation is that it did set up a really great way of establishing and settling Western land. So we live in Ohio, in case you didn't know. So at the time it was unsettled. Who inhabited the Northwest Territory? Anyone know? Who do you think? Who inhabited everything out here? Native Americans. So who inhabited the Northwest Territory? Native Americans, right? So the Articles did give power to the national government to create treaties, and that's exactly what they did with the Northwest Ordinance to gain that territory for the United States and to establish the state of Ohio. Hooray!
Is Nathan here?
He's not.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You guys are doing great. Moving on. Now, you're going to need to write in just the stuff on the left. So I'm going to talk about the 4 main qualities of the Articles of Confederation and then what their powers were, and then we'll move on to our simulation for today. So the first characteristic was what we call a unicameral legislature. What does that mean? Unicameral. If you have AirPods in, take them out, please. Okay, nobody should have AirPods in. Tell your buddy next to you the same thing. Give him a little nudge. AirPods out. Thanks, bud. Great. All right. What does unicameral mean? One house. Okay. Good job. So the government established under the Articles of Confederation had one branch, and that was the legislative branch. And that legislative branch was made up of Congress, whose job was to make laws, but there was only one house. The good thing about that is it made it really easy to pass laws quickly. There was one Congress, one house. If they liked the law, they passed it, and there it was. But the bad thing was there wasn't a second chamber like there is today to say that law is probably not good for the country. We don't like it. We're not going to pass it. Today, to pass the law, it has to go through both houses. Under the Articles of Confederation, there was just one. All right? Next, there was only one branch of government established with the Articles. Today, we have 3. What are they? Anyone know? What are the 3 branches of government we have now? Executive. Judicial. Legislative. Good. During the Articles, only the legislative branch existed, which was good because they got what they wanted. There wasn't a president to be oppressive to the country, the states. And everyone was represented in Congress because each state had a representative in Congress. But lots of bad things. There was no enforcement of decisions. So if, Congress passed a law, there was no one there to enforce it. That's the job of the president today. When Congress passes a law, the president has to enforce it, but there wasn't a president. All right? If the law was passed that a lot of people didn't like, there was not a president to veto it. When we had to send people to other countries to represent our country, there wasn't one. We didn't have a president or an executive branch. And when states got into fights, which we'll see today, you guys are going to start fighting with each other, there was not a judicial branch to solve the issues that states had. All right, next. Each state in Congress got one vote. That sounds pretty fair, right? Everybody gets one vote. Here's why they thought it was unfair. All right, think about your family. Let's say you have your 2 parents and you have 3 kids. All right, who has more power? Who should have more power? The 2 parents or the 3 kids? 2 parents, right? They're bigger, they're stronger, they're larger. So if everybody has equal say, can the children outvote the parents? Yes, that's probably not great, right? That's not fair to the more powerful parents. So states felt this way as well. Larger states felt like they had more power. They should have more say. In the smaller states, with everybody getting one vote, they had equal say as the larger states. And the larger states did not like that. The smaller states did, but larger states felt that that was unfair. Okay, and then the last one. In order to make changes to the articles, all 13 states had to agree. Think about your family when you're trying to decide where to get the pizza from or what you're going to eat on a weekend if you're ordering out. It's kind of hard to get to the same decision, right? And the same is true, especially when we're looking at all of these different states who have all these different needs. It was really hard to pass any law or any change to the articles. All right. Now, this visual is in your handout, but you don't need to write anything down. I just wanted to give you visual learners a look at how this looks different today. So first and foremost, if you wanted to participate in government, you had to be a man who was white and owned property. Everybody else, if you're not white, non-white people, women, no one was allowed to own or to participate in government. And if you were white and you were a man and you didn't own property, you also could not participate. All right? Again, there was no president, no executive branch, no judicial branch, only a Congress that had one house. Every state had equal say. And in order to pass a law, we needed 9 out of 13. To change the articles themselves, we needed 13 out of 13. All right? There was no Bill of Rights. So what the people's rights were that the government could not take away, that's what we talked about last unit, were not explicitly written. Okay? All right, let's talk about the powers and then we'll do our simulation. So what could Congress do? What can they not do? I believe there's 3 of these that you have to write in. All right? So Congress was allowed to request and borrow money from states. Now, how often do you think the states were willing to give the money? Not a lot, right. They could request the money, but they couldn't force the states to give the money. You'll see this today when we do our simulation. They did not have the power to tax citizens or states. Now, the government was able to conduct foreign policy. They could say to other countries, we're not going to trade with you. We're not going to be diplomatic with you. But they did not have the power to prevent states from doing their own foreign policy. So like today, if the United States tells Great Britain, we're not trading with you, no state is allowed to do it. But under the articles, if the government said that, the central government, individual states could still trade on their own. All right. If needed, Congress was able to raise an army and a navy, and they definitely could declare war, but they had to ask the states for soldiers, and the states did not have to send them. So it's kind of useless to declare war if you don't have an army or a navy. All right. Articles allowed the government to establish a post office, but they were not allowed to regulate business between states. So if I'm a state, I'm New York, I might charge Pennsylvania one tax, I might charge Massachusetts another tax, and I could do it, and there was no government to tell me that I could not. Today we cannot do that. All right? They could pass laws, but they could not enforce them. That'd be like your parents saying, you know what, curfew, it's at midnight, but the government saying, you can't tell your kids when to come home. Oh. All right? So they could pass laws, but they had no power to enforce them. 2 more, all right? They could create a money system, but so could the states. So what you're going to see is that even though we try to create a central money system, all the states had different currency. So you might be getting one type of currency from New York, another type from South Carolina, all with different values. So it's really confusing when you are trying to trade, having all of these different types of currency. And then finally, Congress was allowed to make changes to the current government. But if it was to the articles, we needed 13 out of 13. To pass a law, we needed 9 out of 13. You're like, well, 9 out of 13, that's not hard. Well, we'll see. We're getting ready to try it right now. All right? So having an idea of what the articles allowed and did not allow. I want you to talk with the person that you're sitting next to, and you guys can chit-chat with each other. All right? Does this government sound like a government that will work? At your desk, you have these signs, all right? Hold them up right now. How many of you think it's going to work? Yay or nay? Let me see what you think. Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? Seeing a lot of nays. A lot of nays. Okay, so no one thinks it's great. On your handout right here, I want you to talk about, with your partner, 3 reasons why you think this government, it's not going to be okay. All right, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Go. All right, give me some reasons why. We all thought it was going to be bad. Why? What do you got? Okay, they can't. Did you say pass or back? Okay, they can't. Very good. They can't enforce laws. You don't need to write these down. I'm just going to write down what you guys have to say. What else?
It's unorganized.
It's really unorganized, right? Who has the power? Nobody really knows. Like, do the states have it? Did the government? Like, who's in charge here? All right, what else? What do you got?
The federal government being unable to tax the states means they have no money to do anything.
Correct. And as you know, maybe you don't, if you're begging your parents for money, if you don't have money, it's hard to do much of anything, right? So the central government didn't have it. And like you, when you ask your parents can say yes or no. And if you don't have money, it's hard to do anything. What's another reason why it's kind of ineffective, or maybe? It's a big one. What are we missing? What's not there that probably needs to be?
A strong central leader.
Yes, which is called the
President.
Right. There's no president. All right. And we get why they didn't want a president, right? But when you're sending a leader to represent your country, you probably should have one. There should be a person that enforces the laws and sets the example for your country. Okay. So these are all great reasons. Obviously, there's many more, but let's start doing our simulation so we can get an idea of why this didn't work. All right. So in your handout and at your desk, you should see at your desk a lot of different materials that you're going to be using today. Here's what I want you to do. Everybody look up here so you get an idea of what is expected of you. Everybody has a sheet of paper, cardstock. You're going to create a placard that represents your state. So what's going to go on it? The name of your state, nice and big, with a marker, and some kind of picture that you create that represents something cool about your state. Please do not spend a lot of brain power on that part. All right? Now, second, in your handout, you should see a page that looks like this. That little half sheet, quarter sheet of paper on your desk has all of the information that you need to fill out your state's info. So you guys are representing the state that's on that paper. All right, I want you to skip the population for now. You're going to tell me about the location of your state. Where are you at geographically? The economy, it should say on your paper. What are some conflicts you're having in your state? And the concerns that your state has about the national government, or your concerns about what you need. All right? And then you're going to take a quick picture of your placard and just insert it right there so we know what state you had. It's 2:07. I'm going to give you until 2:12 to accomplish that. Okay? Go. All right, next step. All right, so for this activity, you guys, listen up. You guys have been chosen to represent your state. And we are here at this convention. I'm Congress, and I've called this meeting of you, 13 states, because there are some laws that I want to pass that I think we need, and I'm asking you to pass them. How many of you have to agree to pass any of these laws? 9 of the 13. Now, if we were changing the articles themselves, then 13 out of 13. But these are just laws that I'm going to propose. So if you agree to pass them, 9 of you, then we'll pass them. If you don't, then I'll tell you what the consequence will be. All right? So, I want you to consider each scenario from the point of view of your state, your economy, the people in your state, and would they approve of the measure or not. Okay, so here's scenario number 1. You guys, we have debt. Lots of debt. We just fought a war. We owe money to Great Britain and to France. All right? So I am asking as Congress for the 13 states to provide me $1 million in tax revenue. The larger your state, the more you're going to owe. The larger your state and the wealthier you are, you'll pay more than the states who are poor. But you guys, we need this money so that I can pay back our debt that we owe to our allies, France and Great Britain. And I know they started the war, but they still are threatening us not to leave if we don't pay them. All right? So you guys have to think about it. I'm going to give you 1 minute, and then you have to vote yes or no. Now, look, here's what I want you writing on your handout. You should see this. Scroll to this. You and your partner are going to write in this area. Check yes or no, whether you're going to do it, and then here a short description as to why or why not. Right? 1 minute. And then we'll vote. This is a historical day. The first vote under the Articles of Confederation. Hold them up. Are we going to pass it or not? Yay means you're going to vote for it. Nay means you're not. What? All right. We had no one vote for the tax. Now, can I force you as Congress? No. All right. So now we have no money. All right. So as you know, you guys are stingy. As you know, when we vote certain things down, there are consequences. All right. So we didn't pass it. So we don't have to worry about what happens if it passes. But we do have to worry about what happens when it fails. So now Great Britain has told us that they are not going to pull the remainder of their soldiers out of our western lands until we pay them back. And France, our friend, our ally, those who helped us, they are mad. They said, if we don't pay them back, that our relationship will be strained. So I'm going to do an amended request. As Congress, I'm asking you, the states, let's not pay back Great Britain. Okay, I get it. But let's pay France, and let's cut this in half. So $500,000. All right, larger states, more wealthy states pay more. But can you pass a resolution for $500,000? All right, 30 seconds. Decide. Yes or no? Consider your state's situation when you're deciding. All right, let's vote. Hold them up. The amended amended resolution. We have 1, 2, 3. 3 yes votes. Did it pass? No. Okay, so now we have no money and everyone's mad at us. Okay, so Great Britain and France, they both hate us. Now we have problems. Okay, let's just move on. Next resolution. Actually, I'm sorry. On your handout, you should see this. How does the Articles of Confederation fail to solve this problem? What was the biggest problem in this scenario? What could I not do as the Congress?
Get money from.
Correct. Okay. So what I want you to write in is the Articles failed to give the federal government the power to collect taxes. I should be able to say to you, look, we need the money. You need to give it to me. But the power was not mine to do that. So that was one failure of the Articles. Alrighty. Scenario 2. Where is Virginia? Where's my Virginia? State of Virginia. You guys, all right? Where is Pennsylvania? Awesome. All right, Virginia and Pennsylvania, they want to build a road. All right? Now, that road is going to connect the two states, but they need the money to help pay for it. Now, their argument is the road is going to make it easier for trade among all the states. So what they're asking for every $100 that you make in profit for whatever you sell, 5 of that has to be given to them to help pay for the road. So essentially a 5% tax on your profit as a state. Now, can they enforce that? Maybe, maybe not. All right, so they're asking you, I as Congress am asking you as the states to pass this law. that allows these two states to tax you in order for you to use their road. All right? So you have to agree. Should the tax be allowed? And will you pay it? All right? Yes or no? And why? All right, 1 minute. All right, let's vote. Are we going to vote to pass the tax, that we're going to agree to pay the tax? Hold them up. We need 9. We have 1, 2. What are you, yay or nay? All right, 3, 4, 5, 6. We failed it again. Okay, so we did not pass the tax. Don't touch my money. Okay, now, it did not pass. So, because it failed, land, commerce, and trade still remain difficult between the northern and southern states. Now, where is North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia? All right, did you guys pass it or say yes or no? No? Yes? Where's the other one? Georgia. What'd you guys say? Well, they passed, okay? Here's the thing. You now are getting attacked by Native Americans, and because the road does not exist, getting troops to you is much more difficult. So even though you voted for it or against it, now you're suffering the consequences. How do you feel about that? Bad, right? You're like mad now, right? You're like, we need to be protected. You're not protecting me, even though you voted against it. All right, so on your handout, how does the Articles of Confederation fail to solve this problem? 2 ways. States were allowed to oversee trade. So that road that is used for trade, now they're not. Now the government oversees the highway system and the trade that goes on within it. All right. During the Articles, the states could control that. All right. And also, there was no tax enforcement. So a lot of you probably voted no because you think you're still going to use the road, just not pay for it. How many of you have that as your rationale? Like, they can't make me. So, exactly, right? All right. So Virginia and Pennsylvania, they want the road. So they're going to build it anyway. All right. So scenario 3, they built the road. Now they're telling all of the states, specifically New York, because New York, where are you at? Where are you at, New York? You have been sneaking onto their road. You voted against the tax, but you're using the road. So Pennsylvania and Virginia, they are now making you pay a toll, and you're refusing to do it. All right. So here, this body, we have to decide, should Pennsylvania and Virginia be able to force New York to pay a toll? And if you say yes, that means they can force everybody to use the toll, not just New York. All right? So are we going to allow them? They built the road. It's in their state. Are they allowed to tax you to use it? All right? 1 minute. Yes or no? Remember, you're filling out this part. Check yes or no. Oops. And why? All right, let's vote. Surely we'll pass this. Hold them up. Should they be allowed to charge the tax? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What do you think? You're a no? All right, 6. So they're not allowed to tax. All right, Virginia, how do you feel? You built this road. Now everybody's going to use it and you don't get their money. Are you happy about that? Probably not. Where's Pennsylvania? You guys probably not happy, right? So think about this. It's their road. Like, they don't want you to use it, and you are anyway, all right? So Pennsylvania and Virginia, they're still going to charge the tax because ruling against them cannot be enforced. So even though we voted it down, they're still going to charge it. Do you think that's going to cause conflicts between the states? Of course, right? So the thing about it is, all right, the Articles failed to address conflicts between states because there was not a judicial branch. So this is a great illustration of when states fight, the Articles were not able to solve those fights. We told them, you can't tax us. They still are. They're making us, or they're blocking our access to the road. That's going to cause conflicts. All right. Now the next one, surely we're going to pass. All right. The soldiers, the poor soldiers. All right. So I'm asking you to pay $500,000 to me so that I can pay back the soldiers who fought for us in the Revolutionary War. We still haven't paid them their back pay, and some of them are retiring and they need their pensions. So how much do you have to pay? Each state is going to pay more if their population is higher. So where it says population, here are your populations. All right? You have to pay more the more populous your state is. So you're going to tell me, will your state support this tax? Yes or no? To pay back the soldiers, and why? All right, so states like Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, New York, Massachusetts, and Maryland, you're going to pay the most. All right, keep that in mind. 1 minute. We'll see. All right, let's vote. What do we think? The soldiers, you guys, the soldiers. All right, let's vote. Are we passing the tax or not? You guys are the worst. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How could you? We can't even pay back the soldiers who fought for us. Guess what? What do you think they're going to do? I don't have the money, so I can't pay them. What do you think they're going to do? Are they going to be happy about it? No. They're certainly not. So they plan a revolt on the city of Philadelphia. All right, so Congress is going to have to put down that revolt, but I don't have an army, and you're probably not going to send me troops to help. All right, so for now, the soldiers, they decide not to attack Pennsylvania for now. Okay? What happens soon? We'll find out. All right. We're going to pause here. We're going to finish this tomorrow. What I want you to do at your desk,